This week on Q&A, our guest is Maryjane Behforouz of Indianapolis. She's on the Board of Trustees of Mar Elias Campus, a university-level school in Israel that teaches Jews, Christians, Arabs, Muslims, and Druze under one roof as a way of promoting peace.
Maryjane Behforouz, I want to ask you kind of an awkward question for an interview like this, and that is, why are you here?
Well, about a month ago, you called me while I was making dinner and asked me what I was excited about. And I told you I was going to Israel to visit a newly accredited university over there that seeks peace in the Middle East. So you said, take your video camera and your camera and send it to me when you get back. So I did. And I guess C-SPAN thought that this was somewhat of a compelling story. So that's why I'm here. But I think what I find interesting about it is when I was 11, I came out to Washington, D.C. to see you and the inauguration with my family of Ronald Reagan. And at that time you said, go interview everybody you can. You told all the kids to just go start interviewing people and see what stories you could find out. So that was a great gift because I think that's why I'm here. It made me curious.
It's funny, I forgot that story. I had no idea you were going to say that. But the audience should know I've known your parents for 50 years, went to school with them, and I did react the way you said when you said you were going to Israel, and I want to find out more about it because I really don't know why you're interested in all this. Why did you go to Israel, and how many times have you been there?
I've been there twice. I went the first time, a friend had called and said, hey, I'm going with an organization called Society for Biblical Studies. I'm going over there and somebody just canceled, would you want to go? They were going to, and I said, you know, I'll check with Michael, and I have traveled quite a bit and was very interested in the area, so I went. And why do I keep going back? I think once you go, you can't not get interested.
Who's Michael? Michael's my husband. We have a picture of Michael and your two daughters there on the screen right there. Mm-hmm. Would you like to tell us about them?
Well, sure. Kayla is 9, Stella's 6. We live in Indianapolis, Indiana. Michael was born in Iran and left Iran during the revolution. His mom's American. His father is Iranian. He is a physician, an ophthalmologist in Indianapolis.
Where'd you meet?
We met through mutual friends at a pizza place.
Did you go to school together?
We did go to Indiana University together, but we didn't know each other.
What do you do personally in Indianapolis?
I'm a mom. I used to run a business, but I've gotten out of that to sort of go full-time into some of the stuff we're going to be talking about today.
Well, let's jump into one of the interviews you did. I remember when we talked before your trip, I said, you know, bring back some stories so we can better understand it. Do you go into this with a particular political point of view?
No, I don't.
And where physically did you go in Israel when you were there?
I flew into Tel Aviv. From there I went up north closer to Haifa. In Ibilin is where this school is.
What's that picture there?
That's a picture in the West Bank, where I was also in the West Bank during this time. That's a picture of a settlement and a village, a Palestinian village is right next to it. But that's sort of what it looks like, particularly in the West Bank.
And where did you stay most of the time you were there, and how long were you there, and when did you go?
I left on the 19th of January. I stayed at the school up north for 4 days, and then I stayed in Bethlehem in the West Bank for 4 days.
Now, I have on my sheet here somebody by the name of Hisham.
Mm-hmm.
Arnoat?
Mm-hmm. Hisham.
Hisham?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you find him, and why did you interview him?
I met him the first time I went over to Israel. And we've just stayed in touch, he and his wife, throughout the last year and a half. And so I wanted to go visit him. He lives in Al Arub refugee camp in Bethlehem.
And before we show the interview, what was your goal this time?
I guess the 4 days that I spent in the West Bank and around Jerusalem, I was just more on a fact-finding mission for myself. I just wanted to talk to more people and get more in-depth information about sort of what's going on, because you don't always get that in the news here. So my goal with them really was just for a visit. I spent the day there at the camp with them.
Did you go with anybody else?
No.
And I know people are saying, why did this woman with two little kids get on an airplane and go over to Israel in the middle of the Gaza war?
Well, like I said, I think, you know, I think America's pretty involved in what's going on in Israel. It's certainly with the foreign aid dollars that we send there, and I think that brings all Americans to the table to really understand what's happening over there firsthand. And so when I saw what was happening, I wanted to be part of something hopeful, and the school allowed me to do that.
The school's name again?
It's Mar Elias Campus. It's a part of Mar Elias Academic Institutions.
And what's its connection to Indianapolis?
It was a branch campus of University of Indianapolis. They have worked on trying to be a standalone university in Israel for over 10 years. They started in 1996. In 2003, the only way that they were going to be able to run a university was to go outside of Israel, because none of the Israeli institutions would give them branch campus status. So that we developed a relationship, or the school developed a relationship with University of Indianapolis, so that all of the kids that have graduated up to this point got diplomas from University of Indianapolis.
All right, part of the interview, Hisham is his first name?
Yes.
Give us a little setup on where you were and what you asked him about being a pilot.
We were at his house, right outside of his house, in the refugee camp. I asked him what were his dreams when he was a little boy, and he said to be a pilot. I said, and asked him why, and he said, because I can be free. I can see everything I want to see.
And he is an Arab?
Yes, he's a Palestinian living inside the West Bank.
Is he an Arab Muslim or an Arab Christian?
He's an Arab Muslim.
Let's watch.
So when did you think that the dream of becoming a pilot wasn't going to happen?
When I'm 15 years old, they sent me to jail 4 years. Then I started to lose my dream day after day.
Why did you go to jail?
I threw stones or something like this against the soldiers.
Where?
Here in Al-Arub, in Bethlehem, maybe, sometimes.
And so you threw stones and they took you and put you in prison?
Yeah.
For 4 years. Where?
Hebron, Shakim, Nablus, Ramallah, Beersheba, and Ashkelon.
You moved around?
Yeah.
What did you do in prison?
I read a lot.
What did you read?
Philosophy, Old Testament and the New Testament, history, especially the Jewish history.
Now you're in Bethlehem. How far is that from Jerusalem?
It's like a suburb of Jerusalem, depending on where you're going into the old city. It's 15 minutes.
Is there a wall now between Jerusalem and Bethlehem?
Yes, an 8-meter cement wall. Mm-hmm.
Now you have an Iranian name.
Yes.
Behforouz. Mm-hmm. Any red flags for the Israeli checkpoints because of that?
No, not at the checkpoints. Just leaving the country was a bit of a red flag.
Why do you think? Did anybody tell you?
No, no one really said.
So when you go from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, did anybody stop you?
Yes, everyone gets stopped going from either way. And they stop and they want to see your passport. If you're an American and you can show them your U.S. passport, you get through much more quickly.
Now you asked Hisham about speaking Hebrew. Why?
I think, well, what he said, he wants to be able to speak it so he knows who they are and can communicate and try to understand why this is all happening.
But he normally speaks Arabic.
Yes.
Let's watch this 40-second clip.
Okay. Why did you want to learn the Hebrew language?
We have an exam. If you know well the language of not your enemy, if you know a language for anybody, any country, you are safe. Especially when you have the Israeli side. And I know that they learn everything about us. They know our mentality, how they think. I have to know how they think.
Has it helped you?
A lot.
How?
To deal with them, to talk with them, sometimes to embarrass them. That my Hebrew language is better than some of them, you know.
Who's them?
Israeli Jewish people.
And what is your sense of how he feels about them?
I think he wants to. I mean, I don't think he has a lot of hope that there's going to be a lot of peace in the future. But I think, I guess how he deals with it is, I want to know each side so that I can deal with what my daily life is.
Your next question is about travel. Why were you interested in asking about travel?
Well, it's for people that live in the West Bank. The only way that they can get out of the country would be to go through Jordan. They can't. Most people, it's very difficult to get a permit to leave the West Bank. So when I'm asking him about travel, even to go into Israel, he's unable to do so because he has been in prison.
Let's show a map of this area. As you know, it's not a very big area. You see Jerusalem there on the map. Bethlehem's right there in the suburbs. Jordan off to the right. And Ibelin up at the top is where the school is?
Yes.
And how much time did you spend there?
4 days.
And the West Bank is that, I don't know how you describe
it.
That's
sort of the line.
That line that goes down through Jerusalem. Let's listen to Hisham talk about the travel problems he has.
Can you tell me about your life here? In Al Arub, in the West Bank. Can you leave the West Bank?
I can leave it, but she cannot leave me.
How can you leave if you want to go to? Can you go to Tel Aviv?
Oh, you mean to Tel Aviv? No. I think you ask about America or Europe or something like that. You ask about Tel Aviv? Are you crazy? No.
Tell me about that. Why can't you?
Because first of all, you are a Palestinian. Then you have to get a permission. Then you have... already you are a terrorist, you know? As you are a Palestinian, you are a terrorist. Even if they give you a permission to go there, all of the Israelis look over, you know? Oh, an Arab people, I'm a Palestinian, you know? I like to go to Haifa. You have been there once? To Baha'in?
Beautiful.
I'm dying there, you know? I like to visit.
So you can go to Haifa? No. When was the last time you left the West Bank?
9 years before.
9 years.
In 2000.
And you can go into Jordan and go anywhere or fly from there to Europe. And
the Americans need a special visa. Already they treat us also as the Israelis consider as terrorists. They have to examine you and you know, so many particular stupid things they are doing. I like to visit, really, to be in America. I like to. I heard about America. I did not know even if she exists. The only evidence that I have, 3 or 4 evidence. You are one of them. You are from the United States. I believe you. More than this, America does not exist.
He seems tense. Is he that way all the time?
Yes.
Did you ask him why?
I never asked him why, but I think if everybody there is pretty tense. I generally feel.
On both sides, all sides?
Both sides. I think everybody's fearful.
Were you?
No, not particularly.
Why not?
Well, I think maybe my threshold for risk and things is a little bit higher, but I just didn't feel at all afraid or fearful, really the whole time.
What did you think of this experience of interviewing somebody? I mean, you've never done this before, is that right?
No.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was, I think that the stories are fascinating, and so I thought it was a great opportunity to be able to put it into something that either I can watch again or other people, because they can tell the story much better than I ever could.
So as you're watching this back, what are you learning that maybe you didn't see the first time around?
I think what I'm seeing, or I guess generally how I feel, is that I'm glad that anybody sort of has a voice, and that people can kind of hear these sorts of very personal stories.
We've got another clip, about a minute and a half, of you asking about 9/11 versus the protection of their land. Can you explain that before we give his answer?
I don't know that I asked him directly about 9/11. He was just explaining the differences between how America might feel if something like an occupation happened here and how they respond versus how they're seen by the world in their response to any kind of occupation.
Now, what does he do on a full-time basis? What's his job?
He's a translator with the Palestinian Authority.
And does he come in contact with Israelis, or is it Americans or foreigners? Or
no, he's in the West Bank, so he is in contact mostly with the Palestinians and the people that are working in the Palestinian Authority. I suppose at some point he definitely is in contact with other Israelis because he's translating, I would imagine, Hebrew into Arabic.
One of the things we noticed is he smokes all
Yes.
the time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find more smoking in Israel?
Yes, very much so.
Do you smoke?
No.
Here is Hisham once more.
Suppose that I, as a Palestinian, come to occupy your territory. Fight until death, and don't let it happen. You know what's the meaning of occupied people? You don't, because you don't have been once occupied. But some people make attack to the two towers in America. You make an war for the whole world. Okay, just a few people, which means 20 people, 21. It's not nation, which means it's not the Palestinian who came and attack. It's 21 people and come attack you. It's Al-Qaeda, let me say, okay? You fight and you kill innocent people. You make Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq, Guantanamo, and you do so many bad things. You know, I don't imagine that the Americans, they are talking or teaching the democratic system and all over the world do something like this, you know. But I respect that you want to fight, which means you want to protect yourself. You have the right. Okay, what about me? Because I'm the weak side, you know? Okay, nobody born as a weak and still until he death he's a weak. Someday I'm going to be strong.
Did you get any sense of whether this whole subject, the whole idea of peace, could ever come to that part of the world?
I think I got a sense that there may be peace, but not everyone's going to be happy with however it turns out.
Now, he has a family, and you talked to his wife.
Yes.
Briefly. Mm-hmm. We didn't see much of her. What's her role in all this?
Well, she works for an NGO out of Italy.
What's an NGO?
A non-governmental organization out of Italy, and she works with women that have been widowed or are divorced that are Muslim or Christian to help them gain skills to be able to go out into the workforce within the West Bank.
One of the things, we have a very short clip just to see her because there was a jackhammer or something in the background for most of the interview. Let's watch this, 30 seconds.
It's not easy. It's very challenging life. A woman working, having kids, working in the development sector also, it is not easy. Working with international NGOs also, you have to make a bridge between the local institutions and the donors and the organization itself who's making the administration for these projects. But it is worth working for my community.
What is your sense of her life versus, say, yours?
Rania's so interesting. She just got her master's. Just last week she just had graduated. And Rania and Hisham met at Bethlehem University. So she's been studying, working. She has 2 young boys. So it really isn't that different, which is, we talked a lot about that. Now granted, her day in and day out is very different because she's having to go through checkpoints and she's, it's just a tougher life, much tougher life.
How much freedom does she has as a woman, not as a Palestinian?
Well, she's a go-getter, and she'd call herself a feminist. So I think she, you know, I don't think she has. I think she has. It seems to be a pretty good life. Very supported by her husband. and supported by her family.
Now, how did you personally move around? You're in Bethlehem here, but your school that you visited is way up north near the Lebanese border.
Right. When I came down to Bethlehem, I took a train and then a taxi, and then a friend was there that picked me up from the airport.
What's Ibelin like, and why is the school located there?
Ibelin is a village, just an Arab-Israeli village. So that's a picture taken from one of the buildings at the school. That's what it looks like. The school was located there because the founder of the school, Archbishop Elias Chacour, was assigned to Ibelin to a church there. And he saw that there wasn't many educational opportunities for children after 8th grade, so he decided he wanted to build a school.
What is Archbishop Chacour all about, and when did he found this school?
Archbishop Chacour is an amazing man, a man of peace and nonviolence. So he founded the school in 1968 as a kindergarten, and he wanted to bring children, regardless of their faiths or religions, ethnicities, he wanted to bring them all to the school. So there are Jewish, Christians, Muslims, and Druze that attend this school, and it's been, at this point, from the kindergarten to the through high school, there are 4,500 children in that school, and like we've been talking, I'm involved in the university side of it, that they've tried to have this accreditation happen. It just happened a week and a half ago that finally the government, the Council of Higher Education, has given them accreditation to be a standalone university. It's the first Arab-Israeli university that's ever been accredited.
So what does this mean, do you think, in the future? What kind of folks will go there?
Well, the hope is that they have people from all faiths in Israel and actually in the Middle East come to the school. They've been given by the municipality of Melkite, which is about a village 25 miles north of Ibelin. They've been given 40 acres of land to build a campus. And it's sort of a crossroads of the Middle East. It's 2 hours from Damascus, 2 hours from Beirut, 2 hours from Amman, and 2 hours from Jerusalem. They hope they can pull kids, young people from all of these different areas and be educated together under the idea of building peace.
Now, how did the University of Indianapolis get involved in this in the first place?
One of the board members of the university knew someone at the University of Indianapolis and knew that they wanted to develop their Middle East studies. So they put them in touch with each other, and that's how the relationship began. Like I said, it started in 2003 that these kids would be getting a diploma from University of Indianapolis. It ended in 2006. The government of Israel said there could no longer be any more branch campuses of foreign universities.
You did interview Archbishop Chacour, and here is about 2 minutes of one of his answers that had to do with the Jewish children getting involved with Christians and Arabs and Druze.
Many Muslims who come from pure Muslim villages who have never acquainted with themselves with Christians do not want to be on the same desk with a Christian. They're afraid. We're not used to that. We don't want it. It requires from us to get out from ourselves, to get to know the other. And we don't want. It takes 1 or 2 months of reticence. Then, as your boys and girls, they forget that they are Muslims and Christians. They discover that they are human beings. Many Muslims like to play football. And when they play football, they don't kick the ball with their hand. They kick it with their foot. And the Christian, the same thing. When they go swimming, the Christians do not swim in soup, but they swim in the water. The Muslims the same. And they discover their humanity, and it's so beautiful. The first day I had the Jewish kids come to the school after so many meetings with their parents, with their municipality. They came here, I got afraid. I did not let them go into the classrooms. I ordered 4 buses, loaded all of them together with our children and with the Jewish children, and said, you go spend the day on a field trip on Mount Carmel. And they went for the whole day there for the first encounter. When they came in the evening and afternoon, it seems that they forgot that they were Jews and Arabs. They discovered that they are just kids.
What's Archbishop Chacour's relationship with the Israeli government?
He's fairly involved. Whenever there is much conflict, he's usually brought in to help bring peace to the situation.
He's a Palestinian.
He's a Palestinian Christian Israeli. He was born in 1939 and lived in a village called Biram. When he was 8 years old, they came and said he had to leave his village. And they thought they'd leave for a couple of weeks, but in fact they never went back, and their village was bulldozed. And so he went into theology and seminary and got very interested in how to bring peace. He wrote a book called Blood Brothers, which was a book that I read before I went over the first time, that tells an amazing story of this man and what he's done.
Are you changing your mind as you go through this about anything? From your first trip over, now your second trip over?
Yes, I'm learning every time. I've learned quite a bit.
What?
It's different, I think, for Arab Israelis, obviously, than it is for Palestinians in the occupied territory. Their lives are very different, and that they don't have a whole lot of, it seems, affiliation with one another. Part of it is because it's just difficult to get in and around these different areas. So I learned that, and that the Muslims and Christians sometimes have a hard time. The Arabs coming together to the table. So I guess I found that on this last trip interesting, and again, I just want to learn more about that.
What do you tell your kids, and what do they think of all this? Have they figured any of this out when you go home?
I don't think they've figured any of it out, but they probably know more than any other kids their age about what's, at least my experience over there.
And your husband, born in Iran, been in this country for what year? How old was he when he came here?
9.
What's he think of you doing this?
He's fully supportive.
Did you ever ask him why?
I think because it gives a lot of meaning to my life. I think any kind of travel does, and he sees the impact that it's had on me, and it's a very good one. And so if I can bring that back to our family and help, teach the girls a little bit about things outside of their neighborhood, then it's great.
We're going to run a montage of interviews you did with a bunch of the students.
Okay.
What years were these students?
I believe 3 of them had already graduated and they're out in the workforce or going back for teaching certificates, and others are just graduating now.
Let's watch this. This is a little over 3 minutes to give you some sense. You have to listen closely sometimes. They all do obviously speak English. How many different languages do a lot of these young people speak?
At least 2, if not 3.
Be Arabic?
Mm-hmm. Arabic, English, and Hebrew. Some Hebrew.
Here are the students.
Mm-hmm. When I started studying here the first month, I saw how nice it is. They trying to, when I mean nice, I mean they trying to give us a very good experiments. The way they teach is different. From Israel. In universities in Israel, you study alone. You enter the class and there is 100-something students, and the professor talks for 3 hours. But here you have like 30 at most in the class, and the professor wants you to understand. He have a special relation with you. He can talk to you, he can ask you, because it's a small class.
What attracted me to this school, the university, it's that they teach in English. And that's what I was looking for, to study in English. I prefer English, to study in English, so it attracted me. Then I came, I like the atmosphere, you feel like you're at home.
I like the most when we go to the States.
Okay.
From those who were semester in the States, so it was the best thing in the whole thing.
What did you like about that?
It's a great experience to get out to study in a place you don't know anything about it. So, and America is great. It's a dream here for all people.
Have you ever been before? Had you ever been to America?
No.
And what, you know, living here, was it different than what you'd heard about Americans, or?
I just find America like in the movies, you know, the first week we was there, it's just like living in a movie.
Ah.
Yeah.
What about it was like living in a movie?
All of the cars, the buildings, the people, even the black, here we don't find them, so we just, you know, it's the first time that we meet people like this.
After I graduated, I wanted to work, and I want to find a good job for my diploma, in chemistry and environment science. And I plan to continue my education in MA, and I want to, you know, the scholarship in that, Fulbright scholarship. I want,
Good for you.
2010.
Okay.
Year, and I want to choose some university in America, US.
Okay.
Any university.
Did you feel comfortable going to this school and?
It was okay. I mean, I would have felt more comfortable around like a more westernized environment, but it was fine living here because, you know, like I have friends in Jerusalem and we all came, like me and my friend both came here and we lived together, and then another friend of ours came and lived, and we're all Christians in the same home, so. And it was only 3 of us, so, so it was nice, it was special. It was different, you know. I mean, who said everything had to be easy?
The movies, when you heard that, what was your reaction? And are you a moviegoer?
I'm a moviegoer, yes.
I mean, do we like the image that we have in the movies?
Not particularly, no.
But he did.
Well, that's what he related to America, and I suppose on first landing he saw what he saw in the movies, maybe not what we're all about, once he started talking to people.
How hard was it to set up all these interviews with the students?
It wasn't hard at all. We were back in a back kitchen right before the graduation, and I just pulled any student that I thought might talk to me into that room. And what did they know what you were going to do with it? No, not really. I just said, I'm not real sure. I'm just going to. It wasn't real clear. I said it might go on some sort of program. I don't know, but I want to hear your story. And when we heard the story about the different sizes of the classroom, in Israel, 100 kids, and the professor talks for 3 hours, but in this school, 30 kids in the class, and there's a give and take. Is that a more American way of doing things, or did you probe that anymore? I didn't, but I know it's a smaller school. I mean, there have only been 225 graduates. It started in 2003, and so they have the ability to do that, and also coupled with, since they have this relationship with the University of Indianapolis, a lot of professors come over and teach these students. So there's just, and the professors are pretty interested in learning about the students, so it creates just a different atmosphere. Where does the school get its money, and how much does it cost these kids to go there? Tuition is $7,500 US. 5,000 of that is in scholarship per student. So the students pay $2,500 or 10,000 shekels to go to school. Where does the scholarship money come from? The scholarship money has primarily come from Microsoft, CCC, a company out of Athens, as well as the Board of Trustees, and also some faith-based organizations in the United States that do fundraisers. Now, Archbishop Chacour is a Melkite Catholic? Yes. You know what that means? Well, sort of. They consider it a Greek Catholic. But they do the liturgy and everything is like the Greek Orthodox Church. And I understand there's a Latin priest there also? Yes. Is your drive on all this through your religion? Is that what, it's not connected? It's not connected. Is the University of Indianapolis at all connected to religion? You know, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. I think it has its roots. Well, I'd hate to say. I think it does have its roots in Methodism. But it's not obvious to you? No, it's not obvious. No. Are you on the board of this? I am on the board. And what does that mean for you? It means that we have 2 meetings usually a year. One is in Israel, maybe 2. We're not really sure. It's all pretty new, especially with this new accreditation. A lot of the structure has to change due to what the Council of Higher Education in Israel dictates how it needs to be, how it needs to run.
Now, you focused on one young lady that we have several clips from, a young lady named Yasmin. Why did you pick her?
She has come to Indianapolis, and she's a friend of one of my friends. They were going out to dinner that night, so I just grabbed her and said, "Can I interview you before you leave?" What's her story? Where is she in school? She has graduated. She, I believe, is 2 years post-graduation. So her story is, she'll tell you. She works in a radio station and is glad to have had the opportunity to go to the school. And she is an Arab Christian. Yes, she is. Did you see much difference in your conversation between an Arab Muslim and an Arab Christian? No. The Arab Muslim has to wear the headdress. Some do, some don't. And did you ever talk to anybody about that and what they think of that whole? I think it's a real personal decision. Some said it should, you know, they come to the idea that it's a respect for God, and that's why they decide to put it on. But it depends on, it just depends on family dynamics and the person as to when they start doing that, if they do. Here's Yasmin.
What do you think about the media in the USA?
You know, I just want to talk freely. And I know that every channel or every country that is biased. This is what we learned. And I believe in that. I believe that every channel is biased to some way. So, so we just, when I just studied there and see the CNN all the time, that I know the American people don't believe in Al Jazeera channel. I know very well.
And why would that be?
Why? I just asked about that. They told me they are just liar and something like that. But for me, that I'm working in the media, I'm watching Israeli channel, CNN channel, BBC channel, Al Jazeera channel, all together to see what's the difference.
And what do you think?
I think that everything is want to show what they think, what their opinion, what they to show their opinion and to affect the people more.
When you were there, did you watch any of Al Jazeera?
No, I didn't have access to television most of the time.
The whole time you were there? I
suppose I did, but I didn't have any time to watch it.
Did you get any sense about the impact of the media on all the people you talked to? Did you ever talk about what they read, what they watch, what they listen to?
They are very well read and watch many things if they have access. I will say in the hotel, Good Morning America was playing down in the lobby, so they're getting, American news as we receive it in the morning. They're just very educated, very worldly, know more about politics in America than most of us do.
Here's Yasmin on Arabs and Jews living together.
What was it like to study, amongst all the different students from different faiths?
Of course, we here in Israel, Arab and Jewish and American people and foreign people, and we just live. We know the bread that we eating made from Arab and Jewish together. The bread we eating, and if we are not working together, we can't eat the bread. For example, And what the TV shows about the Jewish and Arab, I think that I'm living here in best way, and I thank God that I'm here, not in anywhere else.
When you pull the numbers out, and I don't want to confuse the audience, they can get their own research, but there are about 7.2 million people in Israel, not the West Bank, not Gaza, and 5.4 million of those are Jews, and 1.3 million of those are Arabs, and there are 300,000 others. When you go to the West Bank, there are about 2.4 million in population. 83% of the folks that live there are Arabs, 17% Jewish. Then when you go to Gaza, there's 500,000 Arabs, mostly Muslim, that live there. Do we have anything like, have you ever seen anything like this in Indianapolis or in your own life?
No, I haven't. Nothing like this.
What does it create, though, with all these different people? You say they're very bright, very connected, very involved. Why do you think they're that way?
I think they have to be. You know, I think they feel so strongly about their faiths because it's the birthplace or the holy sites of the three Abrahamic religions are all in the same place, and they've lived there, you know, for thousands of years. And they have to feel one way or another there. I think that they really feel strongly in their faith. Therefore, at times it's just a conflict of your religion and who was there and first, and I don't know. It plays into their daily life quite a bit.
Here's Yasmin on the perceptions that Americans have of Arabs.
You know, American people, maybe when I was there, I just felt sorry because some people don't know that they are Arab Christian or living in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt sorry about that. And I want to explain for them, hey, I'm Arab, but I'm Christian. What's wrong? How come? You Arab and Christian in the same way? The same?
Mm-hmm.
I said, believe me, yani, you know, I just, how can I explain to you? And you know, in my group, when I was in America, just feel free to talk, that some people don't know that we have car here.
Mm-hmm.
They think that we still have dogs.
Now, is that, you mean because you're Arab? Is that why? Or why are they saying that? They know that the Israelis aren't riding donkeys, right?
Yes, or something like that, we are from the other earth.
Do Americans really think they're still riding, well, I mean, there are some in that part of the world that still are riding donkeys, but they don't think they have cars. Have you run into people in your hometown of Indianapolis that feel that way?
I haven't, but I mean, she said that she talked to people, so I believe her. I think her point about that people don't know about Arab Christians in Israel is an interesting one, because it's there are 176,000 Arab Christians in Israel, and they can relate to the West because they're Christian. They can relate to the Arab world and the Muslim world because they're Arab, and they can relate to the Jewish world because Christianity has its roots in Judaism. So I think it's an important population to think about.
But as you know, we have 6-7 million Jews in the United States. We have supposedly 4 or 5 million Muslims in the United States, and we have lots of other people from all over. Why do we all get along here what appears to be better than what they do over there?
Well, I think it's, you know, in '48 when Israel became a state, there were other people living there, and that's relatively recently that a lot of people got displaced, and for various reasons, you know, you can pick sides, whether good, bad, whatever. And I don't know that I think that drives a lot of this tension and what's happened in the aftermath.
Today, as we record this, is election day in Israel. Up until now, there are, I think, 12 members of the Israeli Knesset, the parliament, who are Arab. There are a total of 120 members of the Knesset. Did you hear any talk, and you were just over there a couple weeks ago, about this election?
Some. One of the women on our board is Nadia Hilu. She is a member of the Knesset. She's a Christian Arab, and in talking with her, she knows she's not going to be reelected because she's Christian. And so it was interesting to talk to her. I did hear some about the politics, not that much. There was a lot of signage for different parties. And I asked a lot of people about, you know, how people were elected there and that kind of thing.
We have 2 parties in the United States, basically. They have 33 over there.
Right.
Are they better off with all those parties than we are here?
Doesn't look like it.
I asked you to take some still pictures. I'm just going to throw some up and tell us what we're looking at. What's this picture?
That is an Israeli settlement. It is outside of the wall, but within the green line, right outside of Bethlehem or Jerusalem.
What's that mean?
The Green Line was established in '48 as the place where, you know, the Palestinians were kind of going to be on one side, or refugees. of the Green Line. And the wall, that's a settlement as well within the West Bank. The wall was put up for various reasons. On either side, you could say it's security, or you could say it was put up for, the Palestinians might say land confiscation. So that's a wall, that's the 8-meter wall inside Bethlehem. That's the wall, again, it just kind of cuts right through different areas.
They have an opinion on both sides that you talk to about this wall?
Sure, the Israelis think it's important for security, and what I find interesting is the graffiti. One might think that the graffiti on the side of the Palestinians would be full of hateful words, because they're virtually sort of in a prison, but it's not. It's very, they want to build bridges, not hate. They have a lot of very positive, compassionate sayings on the wall on the side of the Palestinians.
Last video interview you did with a man named Joseph Kanavati.
Mm-hmm.
Who is he?
He's a hotel owner in Bethlehem.
Why did you pick him?
I've stayed at his hotel each time I've been.
So what about him did you like that you wanted to record his views?
Well, he lived in the States for a while. He's a Palestinian Christian living in the West Bank. And he's just an interesting guy. So you'll see.
Where did you record this?
In the lobby at the hotel.
Here's Joseph Kanavati.
Why did you decide to come back here?
Well, there was lots of talk about peace talks in 1995, about the Palestinian state that they're gonna set up here, and they promised things to get much better.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, things went worse in this area.
And what happened?
We had lots of wars. We had the second Intifada from the year 2000 till 2005, for 5 years. We had Intifada.
So what happened with the hotel during that time?
We were closed most of the time. There was no tourists in Palestine. Business went down maybe 98% for 3-4 years.
And what was happening on the streets?
Oh, there was fighting, tanks going around, shooting, F-16s, everything.
And how did you protect the hotel?
Well, we were here, but we lost lots of windows, lots of damage we had in the hotel.
And then when did things start opening up again?
2005, something like that. Things started to look good.
And what's happened since then?
Well, it's up and down. We had the Lebanon war last year. Things went bad. And this year, just a few weeks ago, we had the Gaza war. There was lots of cancellation. Business was good. Then suddenly, in December 27th, 2008, when the war started in Gaza, tourists stopped coming to this area.
Where was he in the United States?
I think he was in Pennsylvania. He has a brother in Indiana, in Fort Wayne.
And you ask him about the future. Let's watch again.
So how do you live with hope here?
Well, for me, we don't care anymore. We are immune from hope. Like whatever happens, happens. If things are okay. If there is war, it's good. It's bad. It doesn't matter anymore.
What do you do?
Well, I'm just like the rest of the people. It's not in our control, not in our hands. Whatever happens, if there is peace or war, we're just people, regular people, and we have no power over nobody. We cannot decide our fate. We cannot decide, there is peace or war. So people, we gave up, basically.
How far do you live from the wall?
Just 5 minutes walk.
And when did that get put up?
2001, 2002, something like that.
And did that change your life here?
Sure, the perception that the Bethlehem area is completely closed under fence, that the people here in the West Bank are violent, terrorists. This is the propaganda all over the world. When tourists come to Israel, they won't come here, some of them to Bethlehem, because they think this is a dangerous area for them.
And what does it take for you to get to? Can you leave the West Bank?
Well, where can we go?
Can you go out into? Could you go to Tel Aviv? Could
So
you go
what? So we can go.
Haifa?
So what we gonna do?
I don't know. I mean, can you leave?
Some people, they have permits to go. Some people have permits to work. I have a permit to go, but what I'm gonna do there?
What do you think your life would be like if you had to trade places with him?
Very difficult.
Why?
There's just not a lot of freedom anywhere. I mean, you have to go through several checkpoints to even move around. Even staying within the West Bank, there's not a lot of opportunity. Like he said, when there are wars or something going on, no one's in the hotel. I was the only one there, staying there when I was there for the 4 days. So it's tough. Tough to plan, you can't really export anything. It's tough to have industry.
How many rooms does he have?
Oh, probably 150.
And you were the only one staying there?
Yes.
What did he charge you a night?
Well, he told me what he recommended that I pay was something like $35.
What was the hotel like?
It's lovely. It's a family-run hotel, and they just are fabulous people. The same people come by to play cards in the lobby every night that live nearby or family, and they have incredible food that they put out every night. You just feel like you're at home, but you're living in their home.
This next question you have, brought the most political answer you got in all of this. Let's listen to Mr. Canabati.
You know, the American media is biased, very, very biased. You know, they don't know what's going on in this area.
Why do you think?
You know, I read an article just a couple of days ago about George Mitchell. You know, he's the special envoy for Obama. He was here in the year 2000, and there was the Mitchell report. So when he came here to try to find what's going on in this area, he was very ignorant about this area. He didn't know anything. So when he went with the Palestinians, people, they showed him the checkpoints, they showed them the settlements, they showed George Mitchell the way the Palestinian people live, the hardship they go through. He was astonished, he was amazed, and he says, I didn't know that, you know. So he made the Mitchell report, and in his report in the year 2000, it states that Israel must stop the settlements in the West Bank.
But they didn't stop.
They never stopped. It doubled, I think, since then.
And so I would imagine people are happy about the fact that George Mitchell has been appointed.
Well, you know, here the Palestinians, they you know, we learn something, you know. We hear a lot. We want to see facts on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Obama, he says, going to make peace. This guy says going to make peace, and this is going to do this, and that's going to go do that. But never happened. They've been talking about peace the day before the day I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And look how many wars we had, how many intifadas we had.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all talks. We don't trust anything till we see it on the ground.
Did you talk to any Jews while you were there?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen them, though, in the video. Is there a reason?
No. I was with a lot of other people, and it just wasn't the right avenue to take the camera. Most of these shots were just me and this other person, and I wasn't alone with some of the other interviews that I had.
Had you ever shot video like this before?
Never.
And what did you learn about interviewing?
Well, I tried to interview as if I didn't know a whole lot. So to try to get them to talk about what we don't know here, or what we don't always hear. It's a very confusing subject, and at least some of my peers, you know, you kind of throw up your hands because it's been going on for so many years. But I tried to get them to tell their story so we could all understand.
Got a couple more questions from you to Joseph Canabati at the Alexander Hotel in Bethlehem.
During the Intifada, we were under curfew here for almost a year and a half. We were not allowed to go outside our homes. We were allowed to go every 4 or 5 days for a few hours just to buy food and come back. So, you know, this is terrible, you know, a year and a half, you know, wasted our life. It's like a prison, you know. It's mine as well, it's a prison. You know, what for? You know, we were young and strong, you know, before the Intifada. So we wasted 7 years of our life for nothing. So this is, it hurts, really, really hurts.
How do you get through that? I mean,
you know, as I told you, we don't care anymore. You know, if you think about it very, very hard, you know, you go crazy. The best thing is to let go. And whatever happens, happens.
Do you know any Israelis? I mean, Jewish Israelis or Israelis in the government?
Yes. You know, we know.
Do you see many of them here?
Sometimes they do come here. As a matter of fact, Christmas time, some Israelis come. They are tired of the whole situation more than the Palestinians. The Israelis too. They want to make peace, but they don't know how. And the Palestinians want to make peace, they don't know how. They are like two little children, you know. They want this and they want that. They want the whole thing, one party and one party, you know. So the problem is, you know, it's religious. It's becoming to be like a religious conflict.
What's a checkpoint?
You know, there is a checkpoint, like for instance, between Bethlehem and Jerusalem from the west side, you know. From the south, we have another checkpoint from Bethlehem to Ramallah. You know, sometimes you wait in line for half an hour, for 1 hour. You have to go through light, security check. And it's very time-consuming to go through a checkpoint.
What do they ask for? What do they do?
You have to give your passport, you have to take your shoes off, your belts off, you know, and all that. You have to go through light detector, metal detector, you know.
And how are you treated?
You know, so it's sometimes okay, sometimes rough.
Are people denied?
Sure, you know, but the people got used to it, you know. They have to go to Israel to work, you know, they can wait in line, they can withstand the humiliation, you know, but they have to make their own living, that's why.
Every day they go through this?
Yeah, every day they have to go through a checkpoint. Because every single city in the West Bank, you cannot leave unless you go through a checkpoint. Bethlehem, we have, I think, 2 or 3 checkpoints, major checkpoints.
And then there are checkpoints within the West Bank as well?
Yes.
Between cities?
Yes, between cities and villages even. And there is a flying checkpoint. These flying checkpoints, the army can come in any minute and put the checkpoint on the main road, and they can create a checkpoint within a few minutes.
And why do they do that?
They just to check IDs, to check. According to them, they want to prevent terrorism. According to the Palestinians, you know, they say, you know, they are making things very hard for us. They want us just to leave the area.
You mentioned earlier in this interview that you had trouble getting out of the country? Explain.
I just was, you know, walking into the airport, and they ask you quite a few questions, and I guess my answers didn't match up with what typically they hear or something, and so they...
What airport?
Tel Aviv.
And you went in through, do you go in through Jordan?
I came in through Jordan.
Did you have any trouble getting in?
No, not at all.
So how long did it take you to get out?
It took me 2.5 hours to get through security.
What did they do?
They just asked me a lot of questions, and they went through very extensively through everything I had with me.
Did you ever know why they were doing this?
No, I think that the fact that I flew through Jordan, and Behforouz was my last name, and I was a female traveling alone, I would think that that's why they stopped.
Now, you're born and raised in Indianapolis, and as I said earlier, for the audience that may have just joined us, your parents and I have been friends forever, 50 years. And we did this because you're just Maryjane Behforouz, citizen, Indianapolis, on the board of this school, Mar Elias. When you go home, do people care when you talk to people in Indiana?
It seems that if they're willing to listen to you longer than 5 minutes, they start to care, because they start hearing, you know, it's a personal story of mine, and yeah, I think they do care. I think that if you can just explain more, and the more you can teach, I think it's all about education, which is why I'm getting involved with Mar Elias. It's all the same stuff.
You grew up with the name Sweet. Your name is Behforouz, Iranian name, married to a man who was born in Iran. Have you noticed any prejudice in your community because your last name is Iranian?
I have not.
Did you notice any prejudice in Israel because your name is Iranian?
A lot of questions. People said, what is that? You know, and you'd say you're Iranian, so there are more questions there.
My last question to you, what has this whole experience been like? And I'm talking about getting involved in shooting the video, stills, and then being interviewed. Would you want to do it again?
Absolutely.
Why?
I enjoy hearing people's stories, and it just was such an opportunity to pause for a moment while you're there to stop and listen. You may do that, but this was very intentional.
For those that missed it, I want to throw the photograph up on the screen, the last thing, of your husband, Michael, who is an ophthalmologist in Indianapolis, and your daughters, Kayla on the right and Stella on the left. They are how old?
9 and 6.
Maryjane Behforouz, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
For a DVD copy of this program, call 1-877-662-7726. For free transcripts or to give us your comments about this program, visit us at qna.org. Q&A programs are also available as C-SPAN podcasts.